Can you tell the difference in these three photos? I used three different techniques to isolate this white marshmallow on a white background. Can you identify which one I did without any light, with an LED light, or with a speed light or a flash? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Charles Wollertz. This is Wollertz Photography, and today I'm going to share with you three separate techniques on how to isolate a subject on a white background. Why a white background? Because these are some of the most commercial images out there. This is one of the most useful skills to have as a photographer because everybody needs images on white. I've had a number of clients ask for food on white, products on white, objects on white, even people on white. All of these techniques have challenges, and I'm going to try to break them down and help you overcome the challenges before you have any issues. So let's start with the first one, which is no light. What do you mean no light? Of course there's light. There's ambient light. Photography is about capturing light, so we're going to need some sort of light. What I'm talking about is simply 100% ambient light, no added light. Right now I got two LED panels here, which is why there's shadows on my face, but I'm talking about zero added light, just ambient light. Your house, a window, that's ambient light. That's what I'm talking about. Now for that, I'm in my studio, which is effectively a softbox, and I put the marshmallows in this softbox. So this is a white cube and a white marshmallow. So you can see how that would be a little difficult without any light. The trick here is to remove the light from the marshmallow. The easiest way to do that, when everything is lit the same, just add a black card. Adding something dark, top, bottom, blocking any reflection, any ambient light from your subject, it's going to make the background brighter, which is already going to give you an isolated photo. Then it's all up to your camera. You need to overexpose by a stop or two. It totally depends on the color of your subject, how bright or how dark you want the photo. Then you can overexpose accordingly to get a completely white background and your subject standing out. Now the other challenge is you're going to need a tripod, and your camera has to be super steady because any movement is going to give you blurry images. And trust me, any movement. I was walking around here. I have a rubber floor, rubber mats like a gym floor. It's my gym, and that movement got me some blurry images. The neighbor starting his truck, that will vibrate the house. That's also going to cause you blurry images. So be very conscious about where you live, how your house is situated, and not to move while you're taking the photos. These photos were 1 second exposure. And another thing to keep in mind is to take off any image stabilizer from your lenses. Image stabilizer works great when you're hand holding, but when you're taking photos on a tripod, remember to shut that off so you don't get that motion blur. The other thing to keep in mind is to use a remote, because any movement, again, if you press the shutter, you might cause a movement. These are 1 second exposures, so you want to avoid any movement whatsoever. Just have your marshmallow in here or whatever product you're shooting, and just make sure the background is brighter than your subject. And the best way to do that is to remove light using a card. The next point is LED lights. Using a lamp, any type of light like this, where you have a little bit of control or where that light goes. Now, I use those photos, the same thing with the cube. I do have diffusers for these lights. I didn't think it was necessary. This is the same thing. You could do it with one light or two. It's the same technique, but now you can add light to the back of the cube. By adding that light, that's going to give you that bright background, and your subject is going to be evenly illuminated in the front. Now you can also add a second light, a third light, a fourth light, and give that subject some dimension. And by having a cube like this, it made it a lot easier because it diffuses the light. It's even, it looks beautiful, even though the marshmallow doesn't have really any reflective surfaces. By the way, did you know how difficult it is to toast a marshmallow perfectly, to make it look appetizing and make it look good? I failed miserably many times with these things. I can't believe how difficult it is to give it that perfect brown look, that toasted look, without burning them. Anyway, that is the second way to do it with the LED lights. Now these are a little bit brighter, so my shutter speed was a half a second. So also you're gonna need a tripod, you're gonna need a remote. Same thing, shut off the image stabilizer as the previous way. Now the other thing to remember when you're adding light is not to make the background so bright that you lose the dimension of your subject. especially when it's something the same color as your background. You want to add just enough to isolate it, but not enough to blur the edges. You want to keep that texture, you want to keep that that edge on your subject. That's why I chose something white, something to go with the white background, because that adds a little bit more difficulty. When you're adding light, you can see here, I don't know if I can show you just the marshmallow. Every time you move it, you add different textures. Come on, focus, there we go. So when you're moving it, you can see different, where the light hits, right there is perfect. Different shadows, different valleys and textures. And that's one added benefit of being able to add the light, because then you can see the light on your subject and how it's going to behave. Again, a little bit of patience goes a long way. Now, I really tried to make the marshmallow look as good as possible, because I'm going to be uploading these photos to stock. Now, you want it to look the best you can, because people are going to use these photos commercially. You don't want them with black spots or burnt to a crisp, because chances of selling that are very low. You want it to look the best it's going to look if you're going to try to upload or sell something for stock. That's why I tried so many times and went through like 10 marshmallows, because I could not believe how difficult it is to toast these things. Anyway, back to number 3. My favorite way of doing these photos, hands down, is using speed lights. Why? Because I don't need a tripod. I can handhold, I can get angles, I can do a lot more pictures way faster, and I don't have to worry about blurry images, because these are gonna freeze the motion. Now, I use 2 of these. These are 2 of my Canon speed lights. They're a little bit older, but they work great. Their downside is that they need 4 AA batteries. So for this, I ended up buying some rechargeable batteries. These are Energizer rechargeable batteries, and a fast charger. In like 10-15 minutes, these batteries are charged and are ready to go again. I've used these for like 7 years. I think it might be time for an upgrade, but these have saved me. I've done many photo shoots with these speed lights, with these batteries, with that charger. I always take extra batteries with me, and I can get some great results. Now remember, I'm going to be putting affiliate links here in the video description to everything that I used. When I use the flashes, I also use my white PVC background. This is just a PVC roll. You hang it on one of these light stands, and it gives you great results. I use 2 speed lights. You can use 2, 3, 4, as many as you want. One of them non-diffused on the background, and the other one had one of these diffusers. It's a pop-up diffuser, and it was pretty close to the marshmallow. Now that's going to diffuse the light, and the other thing I had to do was use a reflector to bounce some light back onto the marshmallow. I don't have the space in here, so I did one diffuser and a bounce guard, whatever it was, gold or white. I used different colors to bounce some light back onto the shadow area, because when you got one light coming from this direction, the other side is going to be in the shadow. So by bouncing the light back in, it's going to fill in that light. Simple. Now the other thing that's difficult with the flashes is learning your output, your powers. So I had 2 of them. I had one on the white PVC background, non-diffused, just directly onto the background at 1/8 of the power. And the other one that was in the diffuser and looking at the marshmallow was about 1/4. But learning the power output of your flashes is something you're going to learn by trial and error. The other thing that's a little difficult is your trigger speed. I know a lot of people that are starting with flashes forget about this, is your sync speed from your camera to your trigger, remote trigger. Now I use a very cheap trigger I bought years ago for like 20 bucks. And the max sync speed I can use in that is 1/160th of a second. So that's simple. I set my camera at 1/160th of a second. I choose the aperture that I want, and I fill in with the ISO. I try not to go above 400 ISO, because I don't like to go above that, just personal. But you know, you can fill in or change the output of the flashes, or change your aperture to match the light system you're using. It just takes a little bit of practice. That's why I recommend stock. Before you go out and do a photo shoot, practice at home. If you buy lights like these, to me this is the best way, because you can get so much more done quickly. This will help you start and understand light. And if you have a very limited budget, for 30 bucks, that was great. You can add lamps, you can add anything. But if you practice using stock, you might even make some money before you get a client, and you'll have a good collection of images to show them. And now you can master that technique. Now, to get these photos on a black background, I'm working on that video right now, so when it's ready, I'm gonna pop it right here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. We'll see you guys in the next video. Bye. What was that? Anyway.